Good evening, I'm Jason Vio. Katerina is away tonight. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks so much for watching. The province is pumping new money into a program designed to get more young people in the trades right here in Windsor, Essex. It comes at a time when Windsor has the second highest unemployment rate in Canada. The CBC's Dalton Chen reports.
Gen Z is facing Canada's worst youth unemployment rate in decades. But Ontario is continuing to invest in a strategy, introduce young people to skilled trades early. Windsor-Tecumseh MPP Andrew Dowie has announced $826,000 in funding for a program that helps get Windsor-Essex high schoolers job ready for the electrical trades.
1 in 3 tradespeople are destined to retire in the next 10 years. And so if we don't have a replenishment of the workforce, we're going to be in serious trouble in our economy. So adding the capacity and adding the opportunities to be trained in the skilled trades is just something it's necessary. It should have happened a long time ago.
The program is offered through Local 773 of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. 18-year-old Kingsville resident Gavin Kreitzer is one of the program's success stories. His introduction to electrical work less than 2 years ago led to him helping with construction of the new Erie Migration District High School, the very building where he completed his secondary school education.
I was in grade 11. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I figured I would try out a trade. Tried in the co-op program at my high school. Ended up actually as an electrician helping to do the high school that I finished off in grade 12. I ended up loving it, so figured I'd apply to the union, see if I could get in, and ended up getting in, got through this job readiness program, so it taught me a lot, and yeah, now I'm in the field and I'm still loving it.
Kreitzer credits the union's job readiness program for hands-on training and safety certifications that have put him on the track of an apprentice electrician. But it's not easy to join the program. Carl Lovett, business manager of Local 773, says last year there were more than 400 applicants for 36 slots.
So, I mean, it's tough to get into. That's why we screen. That's why we use job readiness. Without job readiness before, it was luck of the draw. Roll the dice, get people into the program, and then just to find out they weren't fit for the program. Utilizing job readiness, we train them ahead of time. We get them all their specified training, proper training, basics of electricity, construction awareness, aerial platforms, confined space, like I say, financial management, that sort of thing. Then we get them out into the field. It's worked out phenomenal. The people we have trained are now in the program and they're out to work.
The next cohort of Local 773's program is at the start of 2026. Dalton Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
The trial into the death of Sarah Boulay continued today, this time with some transatlantic evidence. Boulay's estranged husband has pleaded guilty to causing an indignity to a human body, but not guilty to the first-degree murder charge. The CBC's Kathleen Sailors was in the courtroom.
Monday's witnesses in the trial were a husband and wife from the United Kingdom. But despite being in the same room at the same time that night, their testimony was at times at odds. Sarah Hamid and Michael Scanlon were staying in the room below Marbury on the night of May 26th. It was then that they heard disturbances from the room above. Hamid says she went to get the hotel's manager, and the jury saw video of her leaving the room and the manager returning. Hamid says she heard a woman's voice repeatedly saying, "Stop it," and "You're hurting me." Her husband, Scanlon, says it was more like a male voice shouting at a woman, screaming in pain. He says it was as if the man was, quote, beating the crap out of a woman. Hamid says she sought help from the motel manager and that she was concerned for the woman in the room. On cross-examination, Marbury's lawyer pressed the couple individually on why they didn't call the police that night. Both said they had trusted the motel staff to handle it, saying that they'd figured he'd have experience dealing with this kind of issue. Both said after the motel manager visited the room, the noise stopped. The couple went to bed. Neither checked on it the next day and didn't think about it further. That is until Windsor police called them in the UK in mid-June. That, we know, came in the days after Boulay's remains were located. The trial is expected to continue Tuesday and until mid-October.
That's the CBC's Kathleen Sailors reporting. Well, Stellantis is saying it has fallen victim to a data breach. The automaker confirmed that it detected unauthorized access to a third-party service provider's platform that supports its North American customer service operations. The breach is being investigated, they say. Stellantis also says the incident exposed only basic contact information and did not involve financial details or sensitive personal data. The automaker did not specify how many customers were affected, but it said it was directly informing those customers. Colette joins us now for a quick look at weather. Colette, there was quite the downpour earlier today.
Yeah, we had some heavy downpours. We do need the rain, but there's that. But also the fact that it's had, kind of a sticky, muggy feel to it, this air mass as well. So temperatures above seasonal, humidex values, and then the wet weather. And at the moment, we're kind of between a couple of things. Some isolated cells and heavier, much more active stuff just to the south of us. So really close enough by that we keep that chance for some rain showers or embedded thunderstorms into the evening hours. Overnight patchy fog may develop, a low of about 17. Once we get past midnight, that chance of precipitation drops to 30%. It's around 40 for the rest of the evening. And then tomorrow up to 26. And yes, off and on some showers and thunderstorms, especially that risk of thunderstorms later in the afternoon.
All right, thanks, Colette. We'll check in with you in a bit.
Sounds good.
And we turn now to news south of the border, where two stories in particular are making headlines. The first one in the world of medicine. And without offering robust medical evidence to back it up, the Trump administration is creating a link between autism and Tylenol. Jennifer Yoon finds out what experts have to say about this move by the U.S. government.
U.S. President Donald Trump tying autism to pregnant women taking a common painkiller.
So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. So ideally, you don't take it at all, but if you can't tough it out, or if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it.
But scientists say it's really hard to pinpoint one cause for autism. How do you rule out other factors that are in play, like genetics? The strongest study that we have on this looked at 2.5 million kids in Sweden. It was just published last year in JAMA, and it tried to control for those other factors by including siblings who share similar genetic backgrounds.
There is no strong evidence to support that acetaminophen during pregnancy causes autism or ADHD or any other neurodevelopmental disorder.
Here in Canada, the Society of OBGYN says Tylenol is still considered generally safe in recommended doses for pregnant people, especially because it's one of the only painkillers that are considered safe generally for those who are expecting, and not treating pain or fevers can be harmful for the baby and the mother.
Pregnant women shouldn't feel guilty about using the medication. They shouldn't feel guilty if they did use the medication, in this pregnancy or a past pregnancy. So I think that you should always have a discussion with your healthcare provider if you're going to use a medication in pregnancy.
Dr. Smith is urging those who are expecting to talk to their doctors. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Late night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel will be returning to the airwaves on Tuesday night. The Walt Disney Company says it had decided to previously suspend Kimmel's show because of comments in a monologue last week that were, quote, ill-timed and thus insensitive. Those remarks were related to Charlie Kirk's killing. The company now says it will return Kimmel to air after, quote, thoughtful conversations with him. Kimmel's suspension had prompted concerns about free speech. Turning back to local news now, Windsor's Clair College football team is on quite the win streak. The team is perfect so far this season. They haven't just won their matches, they've crushed the competition. On Saturday, it's an example of that. The Saints beat the GTA Grizzlies 93-0. CBC Windsor video producer Mike Evans spoke to the head coach about the team's dominance and their goals for the season.
The last 3 years, I think we've been in a position to compete at a serious level nationally. This year, I think we're putting ourselves in a position to do the same. We just have to take care of business in Ontario, get out of our conference, which is tougher than people want to give it credit for.
You're undefeated this season so far. Talk about your success. What's the secret to your success?
There's a couple things. One, currently, it's a great facility to be able to recruit to. If I bring recruits here, it finishes the deal, and it's a nice finishing touch on a recruiting class. Success, though, is over time. It's 22 years in the making. It's not 1 year. We've had a pretty good staff for a long time. We've got a couple newer guys on the staff, but for the most part, the staff's been together for over a decade, recruiting more against universities. And our facility compares favorably to most universities, especially in Ontario. So it's an eye-opening experience for them when they come to the college. College. Not just the sports park, but we walk them through the sportsplex and the residence buildings and the campus itself. Just everything pops. They've done a great job here with the campus and making it very appealing for kids. London's probably our biggest rival in Ontario the last handful of years. We've seen them play them in the final. I think 5 years in a row we played them in the final. Tides can change quick in this league, and football's a funny game. The ball doesn't always bounce for you, so we're always going to be ready for that.
A chaotic scene at the Windsor Spitfires home opener on Saturday against the London Knights. Shortly after the Spits scored a goal on the Knights power play, fans went wild. So crazy that the glass behind the Knights bench shattered. Have a look. Now this is the glass. You can see the tempered glass here completely shattering and falling toward one of the Knights coaching staff. No injuries were reported on the London bench. The city hasn't said if any fans were injured. Now this was the goal that caused fans to cheer wildly in the stands. The city hasn't said if any fans though were injured, but a Windsor Spitfire spokesperson says it's unclear how that glass broke since it's designed to withstand impact. They speculate someone cheering and possibly banging on the glass could have had a ring on and it hit what they call a sweet spot in the glass. Almanacs have been considered a trusted source for weather forecasts, gardening advice, recipes, and other helpful information by many people for hundreds of years. CBC's Johanna Wagstaff explores the history, the science, and why millions of people still turn to these books each year.
These little books have promised long-range weather forecasts for about 230 years, but do they actually work? The oldest of the almanacs is the Old Farmer's Almanac, published in 1792.
You know, I think a lot of people wish it was folklore, like, you know, we took a chicken and spun it around or looked at the woolly bear caterpillars.
And that's what I assumed too, that it was folksy wisdom rooted in observational truth, red skies at night, that sort of thing. But it turns out the forecasts mainly come from sunspots.
The big thing that we do is look at the magnetic storm cycles on the sun. And then, of course, there's things we have to tweak. We know that we're on a warming planet. So what's happening there? How warm are the oceans? How cold are they? What's the polar vortex doing? We've been working with a team at AccuWeather for 40 years. And so they use our proprietary formula that takes into account the sunspot activity to make those long-range forecasts.
Now, sunspots do signal increased solar magnetic activity, but their effect on Earth's weather is tiny compared to factors like greenhouse gas emissions. I was pleasantly surprised to hear them acknowledge climate change, but folding it into a sunspot formula doesn't suddenly make the science stack up. Still, the Old Farmer's Almanac sells 2.5 million copies a year, 500,000 here in Canada.
As a confession, I enjoy the Farmer's Almanac. I love the recipes and the anecdotes and the antidotes and the commercials, but hey, I'd be sacrilegious to say that I consulted the forecasts.
The editors claim 80% accuracy for their winter forecasts, but
this one said that the coldest part of winter in Ontario is going to be mid to late December, early and late January, and early February. Hey, they've got the weather covered for the entire winter. How can they be wrong?
Independent checks show that when they do get specific, accuracy hovers near random chance. Meanwhile, science-based seasonal outlooks rely on ocean signals, decades of data, supercomputer models. They're improving, but only about 60% accurate with less detail. Seasonal forecasting is tough for everyone. But the thing is, people might not be looking for that kind of accuracy from an almanac.
We talk about phenology. So when the lilacs are coming out, it's time to plant the peas or the potatoes. You know, this idea that we can look at what's around us. And yes, there's a certainty to the shape of the seasons. And I think that is what people are craving, is this idea that we are part of something larger. You know, we're all connected by this earth. We're looking out for her. And we do that in different ways.
Whether it's a 200-year-old book or a weather app that you're checking for the long range, the key is staying connected to the natural and warming world around you.
And that is the CBC's Johanna Wagstaff reporting. Now we're going to head up top to our tower cam as we get ready to go into our break. Today we have Colette standing by live for what's in store after that downpour today in our weather. She's coming up a little later in the show, but first, right after the commercial break, we'll have more news for you. Stay with us. Countries are lining up to formally recognize a Palestinian state at the United Nations. France, Belgium, and Malta are the latest to join the list, following Canada, Britain, Australia, and Portugal on Sunday. And they're doing it despite clear opposition from the U.S. and Israel. Karina Roman has more from Washington.
I declare that today France recognizes the state of Palestine.
France joins a growing list of countries moving to recognize a Palestinian state. This comes as President Emmanuel Macron and Saudi Arabia host a two-state solution summit at the United Nations, a summit that both the U.S. and Israel are boycotting. But Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says the move to recognize statehood is about keeping alive hopes for a two-state solution, especially as Israel pushes forward with settlements in the West Bank and threatening annexation in contravention of international law.
We have to push on this now because, as I say, the possibility in absolute violation of the UN Charter and an absolute violation of international law of self-determination for the Palestinian peoples is being erased.
The summit also comes on the heels of a UN report last week that found Israel had committed genocide in Gaza. Israel's ambassador to the UN says after October 7th, a two-state solution is off the table, and that recognizing a Palestinian state rewards Hamas.
With all due respect to President Macron, the Elysee cannot give instructions to Hamas, so it's easier to come here, make statements, take pictures. They feel they are doing something, but they are not promoting peace. On the contrary, they are supporting terrorism.
The White House reiterated today that the president agrees with Israel.
He feels this does not do anything to release the hostages, which is the primary goal right now in Gaza, does nothing to end this conflict and bring this war to a close. And frankly, he believes it's a reward to Hamas.
Canada's conditions for statehood include the disarmament of Hamas and agreement from the Palestinian Authority to reform and hold general elections in 2026.
So it is a process that is growing. And all of those people are saying, since the end game is a two-state solution, why don't we invest in peace?
For now, the recognition of statehood is symbolic. Even Palestinians are skeptical of it leading to any real change on the ground, especially with the U.S. not on board. Karina Roman, CBC News, Washington.
And the Palestinian flag was raised in central London as countries around the world begin to officially recognize the state. CBC's Chris Brown has the historic significance of this day and the road ahead.
There was a heavy air of history because Britain is very significant. Of all the countries that were involved in recognizing a Palestinian state, it was Britain 108 years ago that was essentially the colonial power in the Middle East, and it was their authorship of what's known as the Balfour Declaration that many believe, many see as one of the seminal documents that paved the way for Jewish people to create their state in the modern day area of the Middle East. But many Palestinians see this document as a betrayal because it did not, in their opinion, recognize explicitly a Palestinian right to exist. We heard statements from British ministers, opposition MPs. We saw a wide cross-section of people from all political parties, labor unions as well, all here watching this, what some Palestinians were calling a righting of a historical wrong. Lots of big questions, though, still remain. In terms of the criteria to establish a Palestinian state, well, yes, there is a Palestinian population, roughly between parts of the river and the sea, but in terms of how this territory is going to be defined, that's a big question. And also, whether there's a government that can actually function and administer this Palestinian state. Obviously, these are huge questions which really can't be answered today, but the ambassador told us that he believes a small start will come because there's going to be elections in the West Bank, he says, within the next year, including presidential elections. They've not had them in more than 20 years. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Still to come here on CBC Windsor News, Colette Kennedy is standing by live with a look at weather right after the break. Time now for a live look at weather, and of course we have Colette Kennedy to do that with us here. And Colette, when I was driving into work today, and I think it was at the peak of that downpour, and my wipers were cranked as far as I could get them to go, and I don't think they've had a workout like that in a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, you make a couple of good points there. Yes, I mean, rainfall that we really need, finally getting some of that and into a pattern where we're going to have a few days with some wet weather, but also just how difficult it can be and actually dangerous on the roadways, you know, when we get such a heavy rain, especially in an embedded thunderstorm, right? Like it can really be tricky, and you end up practically hydroplaning or perhaps hydroplaning there. So always okay to get off the road, you know, pull to the side, put on your hazards if it's just too much, and be safe. In terms of what's going on with our temperatures, running above seasonal, 22 now, but we were up to 24. And then we even have a humidex value to be talking about still on this first day of fall, partial day of fall, coming in at 219. So feels like about 30. And there's some of the wet weather. So there's this dry slot here. There's a bit of activity further north, a cell that's kind of dying out in Michigan, and then much more active weather just across Lake Erie or to the south of. And we're kind of trapped in between, but we still are going to keep that risk into these evening hours then of a stray shower or thunderstorm coming through our skies. And then later on this evening, as we get past about midnight, things should weaken for a time anyway. Some fog development is certainly possible. And then towards tomorrow, any sun that kind of pulls through, when you have an unstable air mass like this, that actually adds to that volatility. You probably heard me talk about this scenario before. And so then the chance of getting some more showers and thunderstorms developing is certainly possible. A second trough that's kind of coming through our frontal boundary also helps with some of the lift. So late tomorrow, I'd expect more redevelopment. And then Wednesday, we stay in this pattern. So some scattered showers and thunderstorms. I want to show you, when you have this sort of a pattern, really hard for the models to kind of dictate or predict where exactly the rain will be. It's looking so light here and so heavy in Sarnia. And I just want to caution you, it's just wherever we get, you know, like Jason was driving through those thunderstorms, that's where you'll get those heavier amounts. So it's probably not as little as 1 to 2 millimeters for Windsor. Overnight temperatures, a low of 17, 26 tomorrow, feeling again like about 30. And then once we get to Thursday, maybe a little more organized, but we break out of this pattern for the end of the week and the weekend.
All right, thanks so much, Colette. And that's it for us here at CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.